And now, aviation weather around Alaska.
Hello everyone, I'm National Weather Service Meteorologist Peter Chan with your Alaska Aviation Weather Outlook on this Tuesday, April 23rd. And start out just talking a bit about what's going on this Tuesday. We've had low pressure bottom out below 970 millibars, down around 967 millibars this Tuesday morning. And it's continuing to wobble northward a bit and will continue to gradually fill the next couple of days before slowly crossing the eastern Aleutians on Friday morning. So this system is just going to sit and spin across the Bering Sea, and we have a very wrapped up occluded front around it. It comes all the way around a couple of times, and then as that front pushes in along the southwest coast up to St. Lawrence Island, it will gradually weaken. But it does have a band, at least initially a band of some snow and blowing snow this Tuesday into Tuesday night that will then, as warmer air entrails, we expect to have mainly rain over areas of the southwest interior as it moves up toward Bethel, but a band certainly of IFR conditions along the southwest coast, Cape Newingham up through Kuskokwim Bay and St. Lawrence Island. We also have some IFR conditions lingering over the Gulf and on the east side of Kodiak Island, and then in the far north we have some lower ceilings and visibilities due to some low cloudiness and fog along the Arctic coast where there are a bit colder temperatures. And as we go through Wednesday afternoon, we expect still to see some remnant IFR conditions there along the central Arctic coast and north slope. And then much of the northern Bering Sea, as well as areas just off of the southwest coast, there will be IFR conditions, including Nunavik Island to St. Lawrence, and then shrinking pockets of IFR there in the southwestern Gulf. And by the time we get into Thursday morning, we expect areas from the north slope, northwest Arctic coast down along the Chukchi Sea, including the Seward Peninsula, much of the northern Bering along the southwest coast, lower Yukon Delta. There will be areas of IFR and remnant showers, lower clouds and ceilings as a result of that system spreading further north and east. And then areas of the Panhandle, there is going to be a little system on Wednesday work its way across Haida Gwaii, could bring some showers Wednesday into Thursday across parts of the southern Panhandle, and even a little IFR conditions there up against the inner coastal mountains there of British Columbia. And for Thursday afternoon, perhaps an area of IFR out over the central eastern Gulf, and then also up there through the Bering Strait and on the southwest side, north side of the Seward Peninsula. Otherwise, much of the interior will continue to enjoy VFR conditions as there's still some remnant weak ridging of high pressure bringing that portion of the state quieter weather. But looking at Anatuvik Pass up there in the east central portion of the Brooks Range, VFR, same thing, Adigan Pass, VFR conditions throughout Wednesday. Further south and west, Lake Clark and Merrill will start with VFR conditions and then become MVFR in the afternoon. As we go up around the central Alaska Range, rainy through Windy Pass, and then there eastward across the Alaska Range, Isabel into Mentasta. Generally, VFR conditions will prevail throughout the day Wednesday, though it may become MVFR south there of the south entrance as you get down toward the Copper River Valley. And Tanita Pass should generally see VFR conditions on Wednesday. Portage also VFR, and then as we go over toward the north end of the Panhandle, also VFR conditions are anticipated there during the day on Wednesday. Looking at the freezing level at the surface, we have had an intrusion of milder air come in ahead of that front, and so as a result, the southwest interior creeping up the Kuskokwim and the Yukon River basins. We could see temperatures a bit above freezing Wednesday morning, and then that surface freezing line extends out across the intercoastal mountains of British Columbia there in the Panhandle. Notice the front lies in this region, so freezing levels aloft do bump upward a bit, nothing impressive, upwards of 4,000 and 6,000 feet, but well south of the Alaska Peninsula and Kodiak Island. And we still see back out toward northwest Canada just the slightest hints of some weak ridging. But as far as the greatest threat for icing, where we have thicker cloud cover and some precipitation along that frontal boundary, it's going to be across from the Bering Strait down through the lower Yukon and into the southwest interior, upper portion of the Alaska Peninsula to around Kodiak Island. We'll have some showers, so you get above 8,000 feet there on the North Pacific side of the peninsula, and Kodiak Island above 6,000 feet over the southwest interior, especially inland from Bristol Bay, and then around and above 4,000 feet out over the lower Yukon Delta on up through the western part of Norton Sound in through the Bering Strait. And then back out across the Bering Sea, we have some isolated areas of moderate icing above 2,000 feet beneath that dome, or I should say cooler pocket trough of low pressure that's sitting out over the Bering and spinning. So the upper level wind flow is not all that strong. The jet stream pattern shows kind of a weak high out over the mainland. Also, if we go back to the west here, troughiness, we have a reflection in the upper levels there of that stronger circulation. As we come down to 700 millibars or 9,000 feet, you can see a broad circulation here over the Bering Sea, sweeping south of the Aleutians and up along the west coast. We have southerly winds upwards of 40 knots. And then as we bring it down to 3,000 feet, we have the low circulation here in the central Bering and just a broad belt of winds wrapping around it, 30 to 40 knots with a peak of 45 knots just to the west side of the center. And as a result, we would expect then along the west coast, we will have some moderate turbulence associated with that weakening frontal band in the wind field, and then also sweeping down across the Aleutian chain. We find a broad area of moderate turbulence possible, surface to 3,000 feet, isolated turbulence around St. Paul, St. Matthew to Nunavik Island and the lower Yukon Delta, Etolan Strait, but then an area of moderate turbulence will be possible, surface to 4,000 feet across much of the southwest interior, and then back up toward the Seward Peninsula and St. Lawrence Island, some moderate turbulence possible, surface to 3,000 feet.